Hello, Lesson 1, Keystone Test Prep KTP, pages 1 through 4.
We're going to scroll past the cover. We're going to scroll past the table of contents. We're working through pages 1 through 4 here. So, key 1, vocabulary. We are going to learn about context clues, distractors and process of elimination, and how to find the word in the passage when we're being asked a vocabulary question. So back to basics. For the most part, the Keystone exam tests your knowledge of how to use words rather than how many definitions you know. This is good news because you don't need to know hundreds of definitions to get the correct answer. The answer is always in the passage. The exam mainly asks two types of questions: words in context and roots, prefixes, suffixes, antonyms, and synonyms. Both of these questions require you to figure out what a word means by using the sentences around it. These are called context clues, and you've been using them since elementary school. So let's warm up. Test the root of your understanding. We're going to look at this chart below and try to create some new words. We're not working with a partner here, we're just working with ourselves. So first of all, prefixes. These are word parts that come before the root of a word. The root of a word is essentially what the word is about, or what it means. Suffixes are word parts that come at the end of a word. So we could say reject, shun. That would mean it is the act of throwing something away again. You're being rejected, rejection. We could say disduoless. Well, see, now that's not going to make any sense. Without not twos? Now, let's try and find a different one. We could do anti-aquaist. The most person, someone who is against water the most. There's silly words you can make, but there are real ones you can make too. So part 1, let's talk about words in context. When answering vocabulary questions, the answer is hiding. Seek it in the text. Most Keystone exam vocabulary questions ask you for either the definition of a word from the passage or for the synonym or antonym of a word from the passage. In most cases, test makers are not testing your vast knowledge of vocabulary definitions. Rather, they're testing your ability to recognize how words work within the reading passage. They are betting that you won't go back into the passage for help. That's called context clues. But, oh yes, you will. Let's start to train our brain. We'll read the passage below, and we've made up our own language that requires you, the reader, to use context clues to decipher meaning. Then we'll answer some questions below the passage. It's called Danger in the City. The city streets were never safe after dark. It was the perfect time for we Bresniks to be on the prowl. By 9 p.m., the yuppies and businessmen had long vanguard home and bolted their doors against the evil that lurked outside. One night, however, just as the sun had set and we Bresniks felt real proy and ready for a fight, this investor type, Valport, wearing his bow tie and clutching his briefcase, walked past. So we called up to him, very polite, and I said, "Excuse me, sir." His face looked completely schwet when he railed our spiked hair, black t-shirts, and combat boots, coming up so sneaky but smiling. So he said nervously, "Yes, what can I do for you fellows?" in a very shaky Wall Street type flaunt, as if he was trying to prove to us that he didn't feel schwit. If you were to underline words you didn't know, and then circle some words that gave you a feeling for what is happening, we can write some definitions for two words that we don't know. So in red, I'm going to underline words that we don't know. I'm going to pick two. This one really stood out to me. Schwet. says it twice. Schvet. I want to circle some words around it that might help us to figure out what's going on. It's something that you feel. He's got a shaky voice. He's nervous. It's a way to look. He's reacting to these kids in spiked hair, black t-shirts, and combat boots. So down here we could write something about Schvet, and the definition for Schvet, we could say something like, Schvet means nervous or uncertain or uncomfortable. Now in green, let's look for another word. Brezniks. Brezniks are on the prowl after dark. So we could say that Brezniks, the definition for that, maybe like a punk, a street tough, or an otherwise unsavory character. Because the words were nonsensical, you had to use context clues. Even though the words don't exist, we bet you can now answer the following multiple choice questions, or at least narrow down the answer to two choices. This is known as using the process of elimination, or POE, as it will be referred to in the duration of this book. Your goal is to get down to two possible answers, therefore maximizing your chances of selecting the correct answer. So let's cross off answer choices that we can eliminate safely, and then choose the best answer. I'm going to change my cursor to purple because it's prettier. What does the word Brezniks mean as it is used in paragraph 1, lines 1 and 4? Pretty sure it's not volunteers. They weren't doing very nice things. Yeah, they're citizens, but specifically teenagers, yes, but a very specific form of teenager, a hoodlum. This sounds like what we came up with when we were talking about the fact that they're punks or street toughs. So we can say that number 1 is C. Question 2, a synonym for Schvet. We narrowed that down. It wasn't annoyed. He had a shaky, nervous voice. He's afraid. Number 3, based on the information, which word could best replace Valoport? Valoport. That's going to be your first question in the questions below. So now it's your turn. Answer the questions below the video. Take your time, give this assessment your best effort.